This is the new Anbernic RGDS, a dual-screen retro handheld gaming device. The white packaging, which is quite modest and unassuming, is also remarkably compact and small in size. Inside the box, you'll find the console, a power cable, a screen protector with an application kit, and a capacitive stylus. I'm really interested to see if this capacitive stylus, when used on a capacitive screen, can truly recreate the tactile experience of the NDS's resistive screen. Alright, let's now examine the console itself. Its top surface features a glossy piano black finish, reminiscent of the material used on the older 3DS models. However, its sides and the rear of the device are crafted from a matte, frosted material, much like the NDSi. When held, it evokes a profound sense of familiarity and a nostalgic feeling. As a seasoned Nintendo enthusiast, my assessment of this machine's aesthetic is that, while it incorporates diverse design elements, it remarkably manages to precisely rekindle the emotional connection that long-standing players feel for vintage Nintendo systems. Anbernic's recent machine releases, beyond adhering to the principle of using superior components, have also attained a remarkable standard in terms of both exquisite craftsmanship and refined precision. Given that this is a handheld console replicating the Nintendo DS, and I coincidentally possess several NDS units, we can proceed with a direct side-by-side comparison. Here's how it measures up against the NDS Lite in size. Here it is with the NDSi for a size comparison. These two devices share the most similar external shape, and here's its size comparison with the NDS-ILL. You'll observe that the external dimensions of these two machines are almost completely identical. Their thickness is quite alike, and the back design is also quite faithfully replicated. Let's also examine the screen size. It's much larger than the two small NDS models, with a display size essentially identical to the NDS-ILL. However, the primary criticism of the NDS-ILL was its notably low screen resolution, which looked very pixelated, especially on the larger screen. In contrast, the RGDS's two screens boast a considerable advantage in terms of clarity and brightness, essentially making it a high-definition remake of the NDS-ILL. This is an HD remaster of the NDS-ILL. Moreover, the feel of its weight in my hands perfectly aligns with that of the NDS-ILL, exactly 315 grams. Indeed, it's completely identical to the NDS-ILL, which is considered quite a lightweight for a handheld console. After a preliminary play around, I couldn't help but fall into deep contemplation as to why. Why would someone acquire such a device? It operates on the Android system, and although its form, screen arrangement, and proportion closely resemble the original NDS, it plays NDS games via an emulator. Having used it for several days, I believe it does to some extent resolve certain deficiencies and issues present in the original NDS. Beyond its more luminous displays and a broader, more adaptable system, along with a more extensive game selection, its dual-screen functionality, paired with the abundant application software available on the Android system, also expands its usage scenario significantly. Furthermore, its modest price of just over 600 Yen positions it as the most affordable entry point among the numerous dual-screen Android handhelds released this year. However, it's worth noting that the operational delay inherent in emulators remains a challenging, unresolved problem at present. So, with its price aligning with that of a used original console, the real question is, will you choose to play on the classic hardware, or will you opt for this high-definition remastered retro handheld for your gaming enjoyment? I'm confident that after watching my video, all you dual-screen handheld aficionados will be able to make your definitive choice. Let's begin by examining which shortcomings of the original NDS this device successfully addresses. Anyone familiar with the Nintendo DS is aware of its two major flaws, a loose hinge and screen yellowing. However, the RGDS boasts an incredibly sturdy screen hinge. You can hold it at any angle and vigorously shake it without experiencing any looseness or wobble. In contrast, the original NDS hinge, well, that's a different story altogether. Even a minor amount of play, though seemingly small, significantly impacts your gaming experience. In stark contrast, the RGDS provides a far more pleasant and sturdy feel. Its hinge friction is adjusted to be quite firm, giving it a point-and-go sensation exceptionally stable. Subsequently, regarding the prevalent yellow screen issue, it's widely recognized that the NDS series, owing to the Due to inherent screen characteristics, prolonged gaming sessions often cause what's known as screen yellowing, where the display turns intensely yellow. Furthermore, the original console's screen brightness and pixel density are, by today's standards, truly subpar. Now let's perform a side-by-side comparison of the same image on the two RGDS screens. Whether it's brightness, clarity, or color fidelity, the RGDS far surpasses the original device. Moreover, the paramount advantages of an emulator are firstly the capability for instant save states, and secondly for certain games featuring 3D model pixels, it allows for high-resolution rendering. This demonstrates a clear comparison of the very same screen, showing the original machine's pixel rendering against the emulator's display with high-resolution rendering activated. The difference is immediately apparent. Even with 2D bitmap visuals at an identical pixel count, you will notice a distinct and noticeable enhancement in the vibrancy of its colors. When displaying an all-white image, the difference in color reproduction between the two devices is particularly striking and noticeable. However, this doesn't automatically mean that an emulator handheld is inherently superior to the original hardware. Using the straightforward controls available in Rhythm Heaven, we can directly perceive the variations in input latency between them. Consequently, if you have a strong affection for specific NDS titles or genres, for rhythm games or action games on the NDS, I honestly wouldn't recommend playing them via an emulator. However, if your preference leans towards the extensive collection of RPGs, tactical strategy games, and other strategy titles available on the NDS, or even timeless classics such as the Pokemon series, then any slight operational delay becomes entirely negligible. You'll benefit from enhanced color reproduction, superior screen brightness, and even more. A higher model resolution. So in these instances, choosing to play on an emulator handheld genuinely offers a superior gaming experience. Next, let's examine how well this capacitive pen operates on the capacitive screen. You can see that because the RGDS has a relatively large screen, the capacitive pen can achieve quite precise operations. On a side note, I highly recommend this classic RPG game for the NDS. Ni no Kuni. With the visual design overseen by Hayao Miyazaki's renowned Studio Ghibli and the musical scores crafted by the legendary Joe Hisaishi, it undeniably conjures up a timeless, enchanting fairy tale realm. The NDS platform features a plethora of games that are entirely touch-controlled. You can even navigate through them exclusively with a stylus without needing to press any buttons at all. Therefore, possessing a touch pen is absolutely indispensable for playing these games. Playing NDS games, this is absolutely indispensable, particularly for certain games where you're even required to doodle or scribble markings. I gave it a shot in The Legend of Zelda, and I found that I could accurately write and make precise notes without any issues. After several days of gaming, I stumbled upon a rather fascinating observation. Once you've truly adapted to the unique timing and rhythm of the emulator's input delay, you can surprisingly even begin to. One can anticipate the timing appropriately, and playing certain rhythm games using this stylus is actually quite feasible. Isn't this in itself a form of adaptation? Therefore, the stylus's user experience is perfectly adequate. However, a minor drawback is that it cannot be stored within the console's body like the original NDS, making it somewhat less convenient. Nevertheless, the accompanying pouch is capable of storing the stylus, so it won't significantly hinder portability. Furthermore, another aspect that really impressed me during my gaming sessions was that because this machine was exclusively designed as a retro gaming handheld, specifically tailored for the Nintendo DS platform, its two 4:3 aspect ratio screens very closely resemble the original NDS in both size and arrangement. This proves highly beneficial for numerous NDS titles that frequently necessitate for games where the top and bottom screens display a continuous interactive image. Its screen display is quite authentic. Both screens are full screen without black borders, and the overall gameplay experience closely resembles the original console. Regrettably, even though the 4:3 aspect ratio is identical, the resolution of these two screens isn't an exact multiple of the original NDS, so a pixel-perfect full-screen display isn't achievable. Display. Alternatively, you can opt for a 2x pixel-perfect display mode, though this will result in black bars surrounding the screen. However, this pixel-perfect view offers exceptional clarity and sharpness. The choice between a full-screen experience and a pixel-perfect one ultimately rests on your personal preference. These are all my reflections and experiences playing NDS emulator games on this device, and I believe I've conveyed every detail I could possibly recall. I've shared everything I could think of. This device, powered by the RK3568 main control chip, offers performance perfectly adequate for smoothly emulating the NDS platform. When paired with its specific and specialized form factor design, it arguably stands as the premier handheld currently available on the market for playing NDS games through emulation. However, if your intention is to emulate games from more powerful platforms, then I would not recommend this device. However, for playing NDS and earlier platforms, it's absolutely perfect. By utilizing an Android Universal emulator, you can also operate it to enjoy emulated games from other systems like the PS1, Saturn, and various non-Nintendo platforms. Furthermore, the RK3568 chip is quite power efficient, enabling extended battery life within a relatively lightweight casing. In my actual usage tests, playing, you can comfortably enjoy 4 to 5 hours of NDS games without any issues. Beyond just emulating NDS games, it also boasts some innovative dual-screen software designs. For instance, by long pressing an app icon, you have the option to launch it on either the top or bottom screen. This allows you to have two distinct applications running simultaneously, one on each screen, and a quick tap of the function key lets you toggle the active focus between them. The device's pre-installed language input method allows you to input text on the lower screen, with the input method appearing on the upper screen. Conversely, if you input text on the upper screen, the input method will be on the lower screen. This intelligent design ensures that the current display is never obscured. Furthermore, the real-time translation feature of the Anbernic AI game assistant software can be simultaneously displayed on the other screen, again without blocking what you are currently playing. This handheld also supports real-time comparison between raw and translated text in games, which is a fantastic feature. What's more, it can effortlessly handle all the multitasking functionalities that other dual-screen handhelds offer, allowing you to seamlessly switch between tasks. Considering its affordable price of just over 600 yuan, it truly stands out as an excellent entry-level dual-screen Android handheld. So that concludes our overview of this Anbernic. This has been my full review of the RGDS dual-screen gating handheld today. If you're interested, please do follow. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye!